ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. I have always stood in front of an audience as a musician, and today is the first time I'm standing here primarily as an author. This book, Song of the Clay Pot, is in fact a memoir. While I was writing this book, many asked me, already? How old are you to be writing a memoir? And I tell them, a memoir is not about the number of years, it's in the number of stories. In the 14th century, the traveler writer Ibn Battuta is supposed to have said that any journey leaves you speechless and then turns you into a storyteller. In that sense, in the last 16 years of my journey with the Ghatam, I have been a story gatherer. There are my stories, there are stories of other people, and more importantly, stories of this pot. At every turn of my journey, I have been left speechless with moments of joy, of hope, of discovery, of challenge, and of adventure. But it would be a mistake only to gather or to hoard stories. There is a Kannada folk tale which has been translated by A.K. Ramanujan. It's called A Story and a Song. This folk tale not only tells us why a story needs to be told, it also reminds us of the consequences of not telling a story. So here I am today, filled with immense gratitude and an incredible feeling of lightness. Lightness because I'm unburdened of these stories. These stories are no longer mine. They belong to all of you. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite Chiranjeev Singh sir, along with three special people who started me off on this journey. Two of them my gurus, Sukanya Ram Gopal ma'am, Rupa Sridhar ma'am, and my very dear friend who pushed me onto this path. Chiranjeev sir, Rupa ma'am, Sukanya ma'am, and Shri Mata, please come to receive copies of the book.
It's an inner journey as well as the outer journey. All of us in life have two journeys, the inner journey as well as the outer journey. And Sumana has written about both the journeys here, the inner journey as well as the outer journey. Now, in our spiritual literature, for example, in Guru Bani, the body is always metaphorically referred to as Ghat. And for example, in a hymn by Guru Nanak, it says, Ghat Ghat Baje Na. Guru Arjan Dev Ji says, Sabe Ghat Ram Bole, Ram Bole Rama. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, Ghat Ghat Mein Hari Ju Baste, Santan Kayo Pukar. So Ghat, because Ghat is the vessel which is filled by the divine. So that's the symbolism which Sumana has referred to in the book. And that's why I say that the book is also a spiritual book. And it has many moving incidents mentioned. For example, when she starts playing with her guru, she says that my guru shed 2 tears, and she said, for 30 years I looked for someone a woman to be my teacher. And now she has come and, and that moved her, and she also shed 2 tears. There are incidents like that which are unforgettable here. And there is a lot of humor also. Once you read, for example, she is traveling by a night bus and a jerk tries to be fresh and she hit him on the head as she would hit the pot. So there is spirituality in the book, there is humor, there are moving incidents. For example, Meenakshi in, oh sorry, you're recording. Meenakshi in Mana Madurai, she at the end of her life, she's one of the potters and players with whom Sumana spent a lot of time learning how to make a pot. She at the end of her life gets the Sangeet Natak Academy Award, which is a very moving thing, that she got the Sangeet Natak Academy Award. And then, shortly after that, she dies, pining for her lost son. These are the kind of things which humanize the inner journey. And of course, the other stories that she tells in the book, for example, the story about which I had never come across, that Ravan and Sita both have become old, and Sita hears Ravana playing Rudraveena, and she goes to Ravan and says, "Will you teach me?" I mean, this book is worth buying for that incident alone. It's so beautifully narrated. And as I said, there is spirituality in the book, there is humor, there is outer journey, balance between the outer journey and inner journey, and also many insights which you will see. For me, I think the most interesting part, which brought a new knowledge, was about how the pot is made. Pot has been used for ages. In our epics, for example, there is a reference to Dundubhi. Now, Dundubhi is an earthen pot. So that is a matter of research, and Sumana has done a lot of research on the history of Ghatam. But whether Dundubhi was this kind of a pot, because Dundubhi, they say it is an earthen pot. So from that to the folk music, for example, in Rajasthan and Punjab, in folk music, there is always Ghatam or Khada, as you say, or Matka in Rajasthan. I just played a song for Sumana and Arundhati about how Ghata is used in even film music. So there's a very popular Punjabi folk song, Khada Vajda Khadoli Vajdi Tu Hi Sun Mundiya. That is, the large pot is being played, the small pot is being played. For my young love, listen to me and listen to the pot. So it is such a part of our folk culture, it is such a part of our classical culture. But one never thought the kind of effort that goes into making a pot. And that is why I found that particular chapter fascinating. Now, at the end of the book, the last line which she has written is that I am full, my pot is full. May she remain fulfilled. Great that today her Guru is also here. I mean, what can there be a greater blessing for her than that her Guru is here with her to bless her, and her other Guru who taught her Carnatic music, Rupaji, is also here. May the blessings of both Gurus always remain with Sumana, and may she go from success to success. I have only one point, Sumana. For 10 years, I was with you in the India Foundation for Arts. You never asked me to teach you how to tie a turban. There's a, there's a chapter in the book on tying the turban and her headgears. That's why I'm referring to this. So,
But sir, that's why I couldn't have had anybody else do this morning.
all the best to you.
Thank you so much.
And there is another very interesting incident that in a particular performance, she has been taught how to tie the Rajasthani turban. I would have taught you the Punjabi turban. And at the end of the performance, she unwinds the turban as part of the performance. Well, that's. But if you see the first episodes of Star Trek, where Persis Kambata comes, she comes as a bald person. That itself has its own beauty. You don't have to worry about it, which she is not, incidentally. And so there are interesting bits in the book like that. I suggest all of you get the book and read it. It's one of the most interesting books I read lately. All the best, and thank you very much, Sumana, for giving me this opportunity to tell how beautiful the book is, how much I enjoy it, and what a brilliant writer you are. All the best.
Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. My pranams to all of you here, the distinguished guests and music lovers. Today is a very great day, very good day, and very happy day. Another feather on my beautiful Ghatam. I'm really very grateful to Sumana's parents who put her in music and whatever she likes to play and what and all. I hope they will be sitting here to bless her today. Yeah, the Song of the Clay Pot is a very nice book, very interesting book, as told by Chiranjeevi sir. Yeah, I too thought that only 15 years of Ghatam journey, how can she write this book? It's really fascinating me. It's not that 15 years. She was introduced to Sambamurthy sir's book at the age of 10 itself. So her questions and her research mind starts from the age of 10, not these past 15 years. I hope you will agree with me. Because all her questions towards clay pot or history of anything, any questions and her inner journey, she used to get the answers. No, not only making the questions, all the answers she got. Yeah, yes, I was waiting for the girl student for 30 long years. Really, it's really a very big period. Anyway, I'm very happy that I'm able to find Sumana, and also happy that Sumana find me as her guru. So one Valamburi John, he is a very great speaker, thought-provoking Tamil speaker. He used to give good thoughts every day through All India Radio. I just wanted to quote first in Tamil and then I can tell you the meaning. படிக்கும் பொழுது எது உன்னை இல்லை, ஐம் சாரி, புரட்டி புரட்டி படிக்கும் புஸ்தகம் எல்லாமே நல்ல புஸ்தகம் என்று சொல்ல முடியாது. எந்த புஸ்தகம் உன்னை புரட்டி புரட்டி எடுக்கிறதோ, உன் மனசை எது புரட்டி புரட்டி எடுக்கிறதோ அதுதான் நல்ல புஸ்தகம். Means when you turn the pages and read some books, all the books are not very good. Which book is touching your soul and asking so many questions, that is the book is a really good one. One of the book is Song of the Clay Pot. In this book, she has named the part, just 5 parts, all names of elements, 5 elements. Because Ghatam has all the 5 elements and it is a divine instrument. The Ghatam is always carried by Sri Mahaperiyava. So it's really a divine instrument which has earth, water, air, fire, space. And also each part is having only 5 chapters, 5 portions of things. When the I'm sorry, Speaking Tiger publisher, when the publisher, maybe they, after this book they should change Speaking Tigress. So those publisher asked Sumana to write about Ghatam. She has interviewed so many people. She has traveled very well, and she won't take it thing. Wherever she wants to travel, she will travel, and she used to travel and get the information. Maybe just Viku sir interview, she would have interviewed for 3 or 4 times. And of course, I used to tell so many stories when I taking classes or when she travels with me. It's nice to, really it's happy to travel with Sumana always, because she used to tell something in Kannada literature, I used to tell something from Tamil literature. So it's a really, I liked her company and she likes my company. So after collecting all the information, you know that animals are collecting all their food and hibernating in their homes, no? Like that, she collect all the information and all the stories, and she just sit in her room quietly with her laptop or paper, pen, what and all. So she didn't move out of her house. Still she finishes this book. Maybe 8 months or 10 months, Sumana? 7 months. So it's like a woman gave birth to a child. Like in the same way, the Ghatam is also like that. When it is, when the earth is like, she can collect all the information. Likewise, the Ghatam, to make the Ghatam, some all types of clay from 18 villages nearby Manamadurai, They will collect all the things and add water, put, you made the pot, and paddling is very difficult. It can be only done by women. All these things are in that book. It's a very interesting book. So, uh, uh, I used to tell uh, she's an encyclopedia, because anything, any subject, everything, she will be answering my questions. Any doubt, no? Nowadays only I am fast up. For the past 10 years only, Google is there. Google is our guru. But always, if I get any doubt, I will just take the phone and ask her. She will immediately tell everything and a beautiful story about that. So uh, I'm very proud of her. And finally, to conclude my thoughts, my guru Viku sir used to tell me, to get a very great student is also a tapas, and to get a good, very good guru is also a tapas. In that way, my guru and myself are made for each other, and myself and Sumana are made for each other. Thank you for this opportunity to share my very few thoughts. I can go on and on to tell about her, but time is restricted, and we are all very happy and waiting for the conversation between Arundhati, my friend, and Sumana. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for sharing your Sunday morning, which is very precious to all of us, to come for this. Now, Sumana and I worked together for about 20 years, and the first time I realized that she was learning the Ghatam was when I touched her hand and felt her bruises. The Ghatam found a way of breaking her skin and entering herself. What we see today in the book is one of the many results of that immersion. What I see today on this stage in front of you are three characters, almost like of a play. Sumana, of course, our author, the celebration for today. And then there is her Ghata, yeah, the protagonist of the play. But there is also the book that all of you should buy. And our conversation is going to be about these three characters, and we'll see what we can make of it on this stage. But before anything else, there was the potter and the pot.
Yes. And every story, thank you, Arundhati, first of all. Like she said, we worked together for nearly 20 years, and that kind of a comfort level that I have, this is my first conversation. I don't think I'd have been able to do this without Arundhati. Thank you so much. You've seen this journey. You've been part of this journey. So thank you so much. Yes, when we talk about the pot from the lens of music, it's normally the artist who comes, but we must always remember that the artist is actually coming at the end of the journey, and it's the potter first. It's the earth first that comes. And I came across this lovely poem from the 12th century of Kumbara Gundaya. The potter, who was a Shiva Bhakta, and he made pots. Of course, he's a potter, he made pots, but he also played on the pots he made. And that is what the 12th century poet Harihara tells us. And that's because he was a potter, because he played on the pots, and because of his piety is why Harihara decided to dedicate an entire poem to him. So this is how it goes. ಪಟ ತಂದನ ಧಿಮಿ ಧಿಮಿ ಕೆನಿಸುವ ತಟದಿಂದಟ ಧಿಕ್ಕಟ ತಕ ಕೆನಿಸುವ ಹಲಗೆಯ ಶಬ್ದಂ ಕರಡೆಯ ಶಬ್ದಂ ಹಲಗೆಯ ಶಬ್ದಂ ಮುರಜದ ಶಬ್ದಂ ಮಡಕೆಯ ದನಿಯ ಉಜದ ಸುನಾದಂ ಮಡಕೆಯ ದನಿ ಪೊಸ ಕಹಳೆಯ ನಾದಂ ತಾಳಂ ಕೌಶಾಲದ ಹೊಸನಾದಂ ಶೂಲಿಗೆ ಮೇಲವಣೆಯ ಮೃದುನಾದಂ ತಾನಾಗಿರೆ ಮಧುರತೆಯಂ ಬೀರುತೆ ನಾನಾ ವಿಧ ನವಗತಿಯಂ ತೋರುತೆ ತಾಂ ತತಕ ಝುಣುತಾಂ ತತಕ ಝುಣುತಾಂ ತತಕ ಝುಣುತಾಂ ತತಕ ಝುಣು. Turning the pot this way and that way, he played. With delicate sounds and new rhythms, he played. He played until the earth sounds made heavens dance, until time and space collapsed, until Shiva broke into his cosmic dance, and the whole world danced to the sound of the pot. Tataka jhunu tam, tataka jhunu tam, tataka jhunu ಹೊರಗಲ್ಲಾಡಲು ಶಿವನೊಳಗಾಡಲು ತೆರಹಿಲ್ಲದ ಪುಳಕಂಗಳ್ ಮೂಡಲು.
So, Sumana, Sukanya spoke about finding the student and the student finding the teacher, and how both are tapas that have to align in some way, right? So, let us begin with your journey of why the Ghatam? Where was this call from? And how did you find your teacher?
Yeah, something that I've written extensively in the book, but I'd love to share it with all of you here. I'd been a student of Carnatic vocal music for over 20 years. And this was sometime in 2009, and I suddenly, out of the blue, at night I started dreaming of sounds of the Ghatam. It was very particularly the sound of a pot. It could have been nothing else. I could feel my hands moving on my belly as I was lying down. I was smelling the earth, and all these experiences started to happen one after the other in great intensity, actually. The first few months when it happened a few times, I said, all this is hallucination, I don't know what, this can't be true. And in a concert, although I had been performing by then, I'd also watched a lot of concerts. There was nothing particular about the Ghatam that had attracted me. And so I just pushed this aside, but they wouldn't leave me. It just kept coming back again and again and again. And that's when I went to Rupa ma'am. I said, this is what I'm happening. She said, listen, there's something going on. You should follow your heart. There's something that needs to be attended to. And I said, but are you suggesting that I start learning at this point? What is going to happen? It might just fade out, this whole thing about wanting to learn it. Then she said, no, I think you must find your guru. And she was very confident about it. And then, of course, my dear Shri Mata, she would call me every other day and say, have you called? Have you found your teacher? What are you doing? Did you make a decision? Every day she would push me, and finally I called Sukanya ma'am. And I didn't tell her, of course, that I was going through all these dreams, and then she'll say, this is some real crackpot that's coming to me. I just said, can I learn? And she very readily agreed. After I had decided, in fact, I saw her perform in a concert and I said, that's my guru. I could not have had any other guru because the gentleness, the beauty and the grace and the feminine quality of her playing attracted me so much to her. And and I said I really couldn't have gone to another teacher. So, and then there was another phase, a few more months, when I said, my God, how am I going to go to a guru like her, as big as her, and say, please, can you teach me the ABC of percussion? I know nothing. So anyway, I called her and she said, yes, sure, come. And so I went to her, and then we realized, like it has already been said, that she was waiting for me and I was waiting for her. That's why I say it's not just the water that thirsts for the thirst. It's not just the person who thirsts for the water. It's the water also who thirsts for the person.
Yeah, true, true. We've talked about crackpots, and we are going to come to that. But we've just been introduced to two crackpots, Sukanya and Sumana. The first time I saw Sukanya play on stage, and you write about that in the book as well, the way she treats the Ghatams like they are her daughters, and that's what you talk about as well. And she whispers to them like magical incantations or something, and then things happen. I have been mesmerized, Sukanya, by your performance. And as we said, we're going to move between Sumana's journey, the pot, as well as the making of the book, because I feel sometimes in book discussions, we talk a lot about the subject and the author, but we miss out this very important person sitting amongst us, which is the book itself. So I'm going to, and since all of you are going to read the book, buy the book and read it, you will know all those stories. But the making of the book is something you can only hear from Sumana. So we'll talk about that also a little bit. But before that, any book about music I have seen is full of a lot of stories. Some of them are anecdotes, some of them are myths. And in this book, you have picked out various kinds of myths about the pot as well as the Ghatam. Chiranjeev, you mentioned a few. But what is your favorite myth about the Ghata that really connects you to the Ghata? Or one of the favorites, let's say.
Okay, we haven't rehearsed this. I didn't know what question she's going to ask me. But really, my favorite story it's what I've written about how the Ghatam came into Carnatic music.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just this woman holding the pot on her head, something hitting against it, and it made that lovely sound. And somebody thought it's good to have this in Carnatic music, just that. And something that really makes me, deeply emotional, and what I see as an extremely powerful image is always the woman with a pot. There's something mesmerizing, mysterious, and confident, and so beautiful and poetic about this image. Yeah. This is the image that I'll always hold. And this myth, I of course, there are all the other myths I talk about Ganesha and Shiva. That's okay. But this myth that it was this woman, I can imagine her with her, with her swaying body, holding the pot, and then somebody getting inspired by that sound. That image I'll never be able to let go.
And your book is a lot about women, percussion, women, Carnatic music, women and the pot, and the many connections that Sumana makes between these various bodies, marginalized by history, by politics, by many, many things. So we're going to dive right in. And from this myth, then we go down to this road about this creation of hierarchies within the Carnatic world, the stage. Yes. The stage almost as a site of that hierarchy politics that happens, not only among artists, but also about instruments, right?
Yes. Yes.
As audiences, we have no clue when we are seeing a performance about all these dynamics that are going on.
Yeah.
And Sumana very beautifully and I should say insightfully as well, taking a lot of risk, I suppose, talks about these politics that play out. So tell us a little bit about why the Ghatam is the upavadya. Like it's even among instruments, it's supposed, like the mridangam is the man in the
King.
center.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the ghatam is.
On
So
the
how
side.
did this happen? A little bit about that history.
Normally, when we look at any art form, these are things, and especially if it's a traditional form, then there are many things that we take for granted. And this is how it is. This is how tradition is. This is how artists are seated on stage. That's something that we've received and something that we take as a given. But we just have to go back, and this is not just about the Ghatam, it could be about any other art form. We just have to go back a little and try to see what are the various kinds of socio-political, cultural processes that led to the creation of dynamics, of relationships between artists, between instruments. And there are going to be some very fascinating answers that history sometimes gives us. So what happened with the Ghatam is, of course, these are not written down, so we can only, read a lot into history and see what is history telling us, what is documented, what is not documented, and what are these erasures actually telling us. So in order to understand why the pot sits on the side, I had to do the opposite, to look at what constructed the mridangam as the king of percussion instruments. And there's from the time Captain C.R. Day, he's one of the earliest ethnographers, colonial ethnographers. So a lot of these colonial ethnographers were moving around. They were documenting many kinds of instruments, performers. And at that point, there's no strict divisions between what is classical and what is folk. So everything that is around them, they just went on documenting. So Captain Day, when he wrote his book in 1891, he's just fascinated by the pot. He's so happy, he's thrilled, and he spends quite a few paragraphs in the book talking about how delightful it is to see a pot drummer. And then there is people like Popley who also echo him. They are also saying the pot drummers are just fascinating. And like I said, they could actually be documenting anybody it could be street performers. But there's one clue that Captain Day gives us. He says it was played, I saw it being played along with a veena. So the veena, it's unlikely that he saw the veena being played on the streets. So it could have been a salon or a court setting that he saw it. So it's sort of already in the indoor space, the Ghatam at that point. And following him, even somebody like Bhatkande, in the early 20th century, the first decade of the 28th century, Bhatkande comes down to the south because he's also constructing theses about Hindustani music. He's writing texts, and he wanted to understand. So it's like his recce.
Yeah.
He's doing a recce in the south. He visits a lot of performances. He goes to a lot of places. And in 1904, on December 1st, he makes a travel journal entry saying that in Tanjavur, I have seen this delightful performer on the pot, on the Ghatam. And he says, it gave me Atishay, Ashcharya and Anand to see this pot drummer. And finally he says, I saw this potter throw up the pot in the air and catch it exactly on the beat. I want to take this Ghatam player and introduce him in Bombay. So this is what Bhatkande records. And slowly, and remember, all this is happening in 1891, 1904, and Popley comes in 1921. In the middle 1917, Abraham Panditar has also made a directory, kind of a directory in Karunamrita Sagaram, where he's written names of a few Ghatam players. And then after Sambamurthy comes in, there's some interesting processes that are happening. his initial theories about Carnatic music, they have of course taken off from where his predecessors have left. And slowly, we see the emergence of mridangam as the yardstick against which all other percussion instruments have to be measured. So whether it's the it's the Ghatam, it's the Kanjira, or Dholak in those days. So everything is measured against this new yardstick. And in about 80 years' time, from Captain Day to Sambamurthy, the late 60s and so on, the Mridangam has been elevated to this position. And all other instruments have been given Upapakavadya titles. So this process of how hierarchies get constructed is fascinating. Now, we do see this kind of a setup in concerts, and I'm fascinated by it. You know, the Carnatic sound really is beautiful to me. I'm not saying that, you know, we go with this lens when you are seeing and enjoying a concert. All I'm saying is it's important and it's fascinating for us to see what are the many things that made this arrangement on stage possible. What is the sound that has been that has been constructed? That study has been very fascinating.
Right.
And therefore, because now the instruments have hierarchies, obviously the players of these instruments also begin to become part of those hierarchies.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to hierarchies, and especially the position that women have on this stage playing a percussion instrument, because that's a double whammy.
Yes.
So we are going to come to it. But let me move to your writing the book. As Sukanya mentioned, you have launched the Ghatam for 16 years now, but your introduction to this started when you were 10, 12 years old. So you've lived with these questions and the life of a Carnatic musician for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, and Sumana, this is your first book.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is that what do you keep? Also, it's her first book and the first book on the Ghatam, right? Lot of pressure on what to keep in and what to edit out. So how did you decide that? Like, how was the composition? Okay, I'm saying composition because music. How was the composition of the book decided? How did you like lay it out? Because you like you said, you're carrying all these stories, these experiences, all of that.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about the making of the book.
Great. So in the making of the book, there were certain things that played out on the conscious level and certain things that were subconsciously guiding me. I think the one most important thing that has been deep within my subconscious and has been, now I can say in hindsight that it has been one of the most important things that has guided me through this book, is that I wanted to have a book on percussion that is full of feminine grace, with a lot of women characters in it, and with a lot of men who embody a lot of feminine energy and spirit. So you will see that this is a book on the Ghatam, on percussion, and normally we would associate percussion with a lot of, speed, power. There's a lot of mathematics happening. Almost warlike.
Yeah.
And this, I think, it turned out the way it did because there was something about the feminine that I was seeking within myself, both with respect to the sound that I'd like to produce and also with respect to the book. So that has been a very subtle undercurrent that has kept me going. On the more conscious level, what I did was, because I had so many of these stories, I would wake up in the morning and just put down stories. It was like a jigsaw puzzle. Whatever story I thought was important to be told, a story that I wanted to unburden myself of, I would just put them down as anecdotes, almost like, pieces of paper, stick them on the wall. And it was much later, once the stories had all come together, the thread that would bind all these stories was something that emerged much later. So the pieces came first, And then, they found a way to connect each other.
Any similarity with making music, do you think? Or
Sort of, actually, even when you're making a composition, many of you who are practitioners here would know we always make pieces. And then there's something that's like, okay, this piece here has a resonance to that one. So A and Z will come together, B and L will come together. And finding these connections is actually it's an incredible process of discovery.
Yeah.
Because, it's like finding links between, say, physics and, I don't know, botany. They are closer, but say physics and history or something. And in fact, we also find that many of these things are anyway linked. Connected.
Yeah.
If one only has the eye to see it, then they'll actually weave themselves together. So that's how it happened.
Okay. We'll come back to the sound.
Yeah.
So, when we watch a concert and we are clapping for the musician, of course, who's making the sound, Sumana reiterates many times in the book that the sound of an instrument comes from three things: the material that it is made of, the maker of the instrument, and only finally is it handed over to the artist. So let's talk a little bit about the making, because a large part of your journey has been with the making of the Ghatam. And you see Sumana holding one Ghatam. This is the one she is playing. But we have two other Ghatams on stage. They're very important. One is a cracked Ghatam. The other has a pitch that is in between. And Sumana, I want you, as you share the making of the Ghatam a little bit, because the details are in the book.
Yes.
Tell us the importance of cracked Ghatams and in-betweens.
So in the process of making Arundhati, what we see on stage are, it's really few of them. There are several others that have been rejected, quote unquote. I think sometimes it's close to 20-30% come onto the stage, and about 60-70% of them are what are normally left away as rejects. So what happens when they are rejected? And this could happen for multiple reasons. There are many variables in this process. The maker, of course, puts all their efforts in trying to get the correct sound, the correct shape, all of that. But once, let's say, it goes into the fire, into the kiln, it can break. It can also, if the weather conditions are not conducive, it can develop a crack. So when I first went to Mana Madurai, as musicians, we are used to seeing instruments on a pedestal, in homes, they're all very neatly arranged. They've been kept in puja rooms and they're decorated and worshipped. There's a sacredness that is attached to them the moment instruments enter our lives as artists. But when you go to the village in Mana Madurai, there are all these broken pots that are lying everywhere. There are all these what are known as in-betweens, or those pots that didn't make it to the concert stage because they were in between and did not fit the chromatic scale. They're all lying there.
So when you say in between, you mean the pitch is somewhere in between?
Yes. It doesn't. So between A and B. So our chromatic scale, it's somewhat like how the society prescribes. The chromatic scale puts down these parameters, and every instrument has to fit in. Now with instruments that can be tuned,
like
it's
people,
easier. Like people. So everybody is asked to fit in. Now with instruments that can be tuned, of course you tune it to that particular and you fit in very easily. But a Ghatam cannot be tuned. Either a Ghatam fits in or it doesn't fit in. Except for the micro changes that are possible, you can't fit in a Ghatam. So what happens to these in-betweens? When we artists go there, we say, okay, this is not my Shruti, or this is not the Shruti I want, and leave them behind. But it may be such a fine sounding instrument. So I just think of all the in-betweens in society. This is how society wants us to fit in. And there are some that don't.
True. True. And there's an MS story.
And there's,
connected
of
to-
course,
yeah.
there's an MS Subbalakshmi story which I talk about. So MS is Shruti, and we all know of the famous UN concert where MS was accompanied by T.K. Murthy sir, by Viku sir. And of course, the violin and mridangam can be tuned. The Ghatam cannot be tuned. And MS's Shruti in that concert was 4/3/4. It's between F sharp, for musicians who know the chromatic scale, is between F sharp and G. And they couldn't find Viku sir in his collection, and he's got, I don't know, about 500 Ghatams or so, which he's collected over the years. In all his collection of Ghatams, he couldn't find that one which would fit her Shruti, and then he borrowed a Ghatam from his cousin, which was in between these two notes, 4/3/4 somewhere, and it apparently matched MS' Shruti so perfectly, it almost seemed like it was made for her. And that's the pot that traveled all the way and played at the UN concert. So when I go now to Mana Madurai and I see all these pots that are broken, that are in-betweens, then I think of all of us who are broken, all of us who might not fit, but we might still have a place somewhere. There's some UN concert waiting for all of us.
Thank you, Sumana. Thanks for that. I'm going to come to another woman. I mean, we've talked about Sukanya, we've talked about Rupa, we'll talk about and Srimata, who've been important parts of Sumana's journey. But there's another woman that Chiranjeev also spoke about, Meenakshi. Yes. Meenakshi of Manamadurai has been central to Sumana's, I would say, spiritual relationship also with your Ghatam. So tell us a little bit about when you first met her and how over a period of time this relationship developed with her.
I think my Ghatam journey would have really not been as rich as this if I hadn't met Meenakshi Amma. She's incredible. The first time I met her, something about her persona just gripped me to her. I couldn't take my eyes off her. I couldn't take my awareness off her because there's something so grounding about her, so real about her. And of course, there's a lot of trepidation in the initial years when I don't know whether I can go close to her. I don't know the language yet. And women don't like having too many people in their private spaces. So it's like, just stay off. Don't enter my private work area. So I just kept off her work area, but I would observe her. And over a period of time, it's a beautiful relationship that blossomed between me and her, to the point that we reached a point where we could just talk to each other like we were grandmother, grandchild, or we were friends. And she would tease me and I would tease her, that kind of. So from the first time I met her, over a period of 10, 12 years, it's been a lovely journey. Now, why is Meenakshi so important to me? Apart from the fact that she was an incredible woman. You see, when I started playing, one of my most important questions was, who are my ancestors? Where am I going to derive or draw my energy, my inspiration from? One is, of course, my guru. As the first woman, her stories, her challenges, her experiences have been a great source of strength, inspiration for me. But when I was sitting with this pot for my daily riyaz, I would always wonder, where is this coming from? Who is making it? And that's what led me to Meenakshi. And from all my conversations, experiences with Meenakshi, she has become this pillar of inspiration for me. So I see my guru and Meenakshi Amma as these two pillars, my ancestors. This is where I draw my lineage from. These are the women. On one hand is the woman as the creator who gives birth, and the other is the woman as the nurturer who plays and has nurtured new sounds. So these two are the women that that really are the pillars of strength for my practice.
And since we are talking about women, I want to come directly to your what you write about the place of the woman with a percussion instrument like the Ghatam, and the many levels of marginalizations that happen for this woman artist in the space of Carnatic music.
Yes.
Share a little bit about that, because this is something that has impacted your guru's life in many ways. There are many stories you talk about, as well as yours, and it's going to continue.
Yeah.
It's not going to leave us soon. So tell us a little bit about how this plays out and why specifically for the Ghatam.
Yes. See, patriarchal systems, we know how they play out. And this happens with sports, it happens in corporate life, it happens in domestic spaces, it happens in homes, it happens in workplaces, it's everywhere. All that I've tried to do in this book is to share the story from within Carnatic music. So what is happening in Carnatic music is not really very different from what is happening in the larger society. But what happens here is, of course, in very specific ways it happens. I recently heard a talk by a very senior vocalist, and they were saying that, even now when big festivals create their schedules, a woman artist, no matter how senior they are, they will always be placed along with an emerging male artist. While the men are really put at the top slots, the prime slots are for them. So this is an everyday battle that women have to go through. Not to mention the many battles that women go through in their home spaces. Like just the fact that one has to go for a concert, what are the many things that go in the background just to prepare for that one evening's concert? Is the fridge full? Have I taken care of other people's needs? So starting from there to moving on to big festivals where they're really placed at these mid levels. So these battles are every day. And particularly with the Ghatam, it becomes even more complex, because the Ghatam is already sort of on the side. It is an upapakavadya. It is sitting outside of this semicircle on one corner, and then if you're a woman playing the Ghatam, then it's a double.
Yeah.
It's a double marginalization. And many a time when I've talked about this, that when mridangam players are actually, so if you see the mridangam is sitting like that, you see the right hand playing the mridangam, you don't know what the left hand is doing. And the left hand is sometimes directing the Ghatam player or the upapakavadya player, saying, now you stop, now you play, don't play here, don't do this. And that's only visible to me as a Ghatam player. Now, I don't know if they would do the same thing to all Ghatam players,
Or only to women.
or are they doing it to me as a Ghatam player? So this is something I don't understand, but yeah, there is an element of being there's a possibility of being doubly marginalized as a woman Ghatam player. And also because a subtle kind of tension that exists between these two instruments, because the mridangam and the kanjira, for instance, are skin instruments with flat heads. The Ghatam is structurally different. It's earth, it's curved, its playing techniques are different. So there's always this, and you look at throughout history, you will find that there's this tension that is always happening between them. I don't know if the same tension would exist between a kanjira player and a mridangam player, for instance. So there are many different ways in which this tension plays out on stage. That for me is fascinating, again.
Sumana, I have many, many more questions for you, obviously, but because we also want to open this out to the audience, and I'm sure there are lots of questions that you have for Sumana, I'm going to end with my question around. So, today, after having played the Ghatam for 16 years, how would you describe your relationship with the Ghatam? Who is the Ghatam to you?
To me, I think it's a person, of course, and on different occasions, it can be different things. Um, it could be a parent, sometimes it's a child, sometimes it's a very dear friend, it's a sister or a sibling, sometimes it's a lover. And depending on different days of practice, the conversations that I'm having with my Ghatam are going to change. But yes, it's something deep. And I also don't feel the need to define it as one specific relationship. But there's something that's going on all the time. Even when I'm not playing the Ghatam, there's something else I see. I'm seeing, a mountain or something. There's a thought about the Ghatam that will always keep playing back. That is it's a very sacred, it's a very special relationship. Also very sensual, I must say, because we don't talk about instruments as being, as people who can touch us sensually. The Ghatam is that instrument for me.
Okay. We would now like to open this out to audience members if you have questions. Okay?
Yes,
yeah.
Sumana, from your book, one understands that the preeminence of Mridangam vis-a-vis the other Pakavadyas is just about 100 years old.
Yeah.
She's from the 20s, because you mentioned about
Yes.
one account where it is mentioned that only Ghatam and Veena
were played. Yes.
Otherwise, also, if you go back into the history, the earthen pots have been there. I mentioned about the epics that Dundubi is an earthen pot. And you have mentioned in your book, which in fact was a great insight, that Mridangam, the word Mridangam actually means made of earth. No, Mrud, like Mrudgand is the title of a very famous Marathi book of poems by Savant. So now, purely as a listener, to me, this caste system on the stage, if I may use the word caste system, came as a surprise reading your book. Because as a listener, as part of the audience, Ghatam was really fascinating to most of us. And in Taniyavartan, one looked forward to listening to the Ghatam.
Yes.
So how is it that Ghatam was considered a lesser instrument, whereas throughout the history it has been a major instrument both in folk music as well as the classical music?
Yes, in folk music, it still is a major instrument. If you move across India, there's probably no region in this country that does not have a pot drum. Every region, from Tamil Nadu, from Kashmir, Odisha, Bengal, Rajasthan, Punjab, Goa, Maharashtra. In fact, in Goa, Maharashtra, the ghummat is their state instrument. So across the country, you will find the pot is still so predominant. Now, when it comes to classical music, and we must understand that among all the pot drums that exist in India, the Ghatam is the only classical in terms of how the state categorizes it. So when they're giving out these awards, I just go aside one step to share this story. When Meenakshi Amma was getting this award, there was a major discussion happening within the Sangeet Natak Academy. Should this award be categorized under the music awards, or should it go under folk and tribal?
Okay.
So this is how the state categorizes it, and of course, it was under the Department of Folk Arts and Tribal Music that the award was finally given to her. But anyway, these are insightful. Now, on the classical stage is where these hierarchies are all taking place. And yes, it has, I think the system has always loved the sound of the pot, which is why they brought it in the first instance into Carnatic music. Having brought it in, there are also rules that are created about how it has to conduct itself on the stage. And therefore, there is a certain assertion of identity that we see in a lot of Ghatam players throughout history, which I have talked about extensively in the book as well, that in the playing, in the manner they were appearing on stage, in what they were playing, everything was an act of assertion. And of course, they knew, the Ghatam artists knew that the pot is something that the audience will always enjoy, because it is, the sound of the pot it's so ingrained in us. And like you said, sir, everybody loves the pot. I've had children come and peep into it and speak their secrets and stories. So nobody thinks this is an instrument. It's so lovable, it's endearing. So the Carnatic space has always loved the pot, but giving it certain rules, which the Ghatam players have time and again wanted to break, and they have broken.
My second question is about the belly and the pot. It really is something which affected the playing technique.
I'm wearing a double-layered coat here, but so this sound, which even now a lot of Ghatam players would like to play what is known as the open shirt style. So they would unbutton their shirts and bring the mouth of the Ghatam in contact with the stomach. And that creates a certain sound, which is... When you bring it close to you and push it away, that is creating some sort of a resonant sound, which is one of the hallmarks of Ghatam playing, I would say. There are all other sounds, techniques, which can be similar to other instruments, maybe the mridangam, the kanjira, the chende, whatever. But this sound, or even the striking on the mouth of the instrument, or this one especially, this is the hallmark of the Ghatam.
No.
And it definitely makes a huge difference to the repertoire of sounds that the Ghatam can produce.
Yes.
Good morning, ma'am. Congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
In the Deccan Herald article that I had read to come here, you mentioned that Devanhalli was one of the major centers for producing Ghatam, but over time, due to rapid urbanization, it has not almost gone to extinction. Are there any Ghatam producing centers in Devanhalli that you have come across that we can visit? Because Manamadurai is a bit far from here. So I was interested in the making. So is it still there? And why has Manamadurai survived but not Devanhalli? Thank you.
So why Manamadurai survived and not Devanhalli is something I've explained. The airport project is a big project that really took up the space of the Devanhalli potters. They have resided there. The potters have been there for over 100 years. And this was one of the big projects. Of course, there are many things because the city is growing immensely big. And the coming of the airport was a huge thing that accelerated this process of encroachment, of indiscriminate urbanization. So the much of the airport that we see today is built on these lake beds that provided resources for the Devanhalli Ghatam. And because it's the airport, there are other caveats around it.
So the mud came from the lake
mud
beds.
came from the river and the lake and the pond beds. Not the river, but the lake and the pond beds. And those have been filled up now. There's no space. There's no resources. And also, because it's the airport and the security around it, firing of the pots is not allowed. You can't have smoke, you can't have an open kiln. There are many factors, and that's why Devanhalli was lost. And thankfully, no such thing has happened in Manamadurai. And because now it has the geographical indications tag, hopefully some cover of legal protection is also going to protect Manamadurai. Having said that, I'm very too happy to share this lovely news with you that after I wrote this book, in fact, this is a project from the last 2-3 months. We found one of the last surviving potters in Devanhalli. We got him to make ghatams for us, which are now being used to train a bunch of girls in a government school in a place called Vijaypura near Devanhalli. This is just serendipitous. I wrote, that there are no women playing percussion. I wrote that Devanhalli is gone away, and this happened. So there's a bunch of 15 kids between 10 and 12-year-olds
Who are learning.
who are all learning, who I have the good fortune of being with them, of training them. And for that project, we are using the Devanhalli Ghatams. So hopefully this is something that's going to lead to larger conversations on enabling this particular potter continue the tradition with his family, or maybe it will encourage other people to come back to Ghatam making. But the good thing is the Devanhalli pot exists. And it's now our responsibility, I think, to nurture it.
Sumana,
Yes.
that Manamadurai, it has got a GI.
Yes.
That is the only part, Ghatam place where we got the GI, right now.
Yes, that's the only place. So Manamadurai pottery has got the GI, of which the Ghatam making is also an element of.
What kind of a sensibilities one artisan should have for making Ghatam, or to test the Ghatam, whether it is in the right kind or not? Sensibilities,
You mean
I'm talking.
the what sensibilities the artist should?
Artisan, or the
The potter.
I think it would be best for them to be part of this conversation. I wouldn't be able to answer this. But I think definitely the potter is an extremely fine-eared musician in some sense. And in many cases, the potters do play on the pots they make. They in fact play it not just to test them, but also they play it in their own bhajan or community singing circles, which is an aspect of Ghatam playing we don't normally talk about. It's only the classical aspect. And there's perhaps, even when I visit, there are all these handcrafted exhibitions and so on. And if there's a potter, you can go ask them to play, and they will invariably say there is a playing tradition in the family. So they are musicians. They know what they are making. They know how the sound of the Ghatam should be, and they have a very, very fine ear. So this is all I can say at the moment, but if there are other things, I think we should discuss this with the artisans, with the potters.
Yeah.
Sumana, thank you. That was such a fascinating insights into your life and your life with the Ghatam. When you mentioned in response to the question about the open shirt method, so I think I saw the Ghatam when I was a child going to Shanmukhananda with my father when Bhikkhu Vinayakram used to play. And I remember my dad pointing that out, see how it's held against the belly. And we used to all wait for that little toss, that was a really exciting moment. And I think Vikku and made it cool later with Shakti. The
Yes,
world got to see that Ghatam need not be, just an Indian classical instrument. It can actually enter the world stage with fusion. But I was wondering whether this act of holding it against the belly, was that held against women? That how can you possibly play, and maybe Sukanya ma'am can answer that how can you possibly play the Ghatam if you cannot do this integral sound, which is such a hallmark of the music.
Yes. I'll answer very briefly, and ma'am, you can add to it. So one of the questions that the media had asked at that time in the late 1970s, the title of the piece says, "Can women play the Ghatam?" Pengal Ghatam Vasikalama is an article that appeared, and it asked precisely.
That's in Tamil?
That's in Tamil.
Huh.
In Tamil, and it's an interview with Viku sir, and he says, "Women in our culture cannot play it." It's a very telling response, and so we know why he was saying no to teaching her in the first instance. Of course, he later taught her. That's a different thing. But the beauty of this thing is, he said, no, women in our culture cannot play it, and therefore probably many more women did not come to learn this instrument. But when Viku sir went to teach in the US, his first student was a Japanese woman. Now, would he teach her? Would he not teach her? He's part of a teaching assignment. Does he have the choice to say no to teaching her? But he taught her, and then he came back and said, he's once told me, look, this is a message that God sent to me. I had said no to your guru, and there I went, and there was this woman who came to me first. So I came back and I taught your guru. This is the story. But the beauty of this man is, he understands these things, and he said it with so much love for her, and then he never
Also,
held
unlike
back.
a lot of men, there is an apology in that.
Yeah, no. And he's taught her with so much love, so much care. But maybe this is one of the reasons why women did not take up playing the Ghatam. Ma'am, you want to add to it?
Actually, I researched how to play the gumki, because it has to be, the Ghatam has to go to the belly and came out, gush out, that some sound, that gum and the sound. So in my house, after my marriage, I thought about this, how to manage this sound. Because, of course, we can't open our shirt. So in my house, my children will go to school, my husband go to office. Then I tried very much how to make that sound. I tried with the different, wearing the sari. I tried, so somehow I'm able to produce that sound successfully.
Yeah, I remember ma'am telling me that she would try parting her pallu a little bit and create that space. Now, that's something that she has been able to do. In my case, because I don't wear a sari at all, and now I have this double layered coat and stuff. But yeah, men also
Don't open the
don't
shirt.
open their shirt. So I think it's for everybody to find their own gumki.
Own ways, yeah.
Own gumki, I would say.
There is another question there at the back. There was this gentleman.
May I?
Oh,
May I ask one? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Chandraji.
I had a question for you, Sumana. We talked about your relationship with the Ghatam. And because we were already talking about the Ghatam being yet another individual, another character, so it fitted in. But my question is that, isn't it such an intimate extension of your own self?
It
So
is.
how do you create that separation of a relationship with that? Because it's really you speaking through your instrument all the time.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that? That is it a different character or it is extension of your own self?
So when I say that, the Ghatam can sometimes be a parent, a child, it's not in the sense that these are, there are two characters sitting across. The Ghatam, after all, is on my lap. And that makes it, it's definitely an extension of me, but we are also two entities. It's somewhat, it's two entities, but we are together. It's, I don't know how else to say it, but one of the first things that my guru told me in class is, don't keep it away from you. she's not different from you. And that is something that has struck me, because I know a lot of artists would put the ghatam here and they go on. So there's no connection between them and the instrument, which is fine. And this is not a comment on their playing style. They choose to play like that. That's perfectly fine. And there are many reasons why they would do that. But when you put it on your lap and you have this intimate connection of the ghatam going against your belly, coming back, it's constantly touching you. It's part of you. So yes, it's an extension of me, while it is also two entities talking to each other. That's what it is for me.
Hi, Sumana. I'll go from sublime to bathos. My question is about the book. When my wife said Sumana's written a book, I just assumed it's about music. Then when I read it, it was really, to me, a storybook, a journey in one sense. And then we heard the first speaker say it's spiritual as well. So if I were your publisher, I'd be really worried. So how did you sell it, or what did they view it, and what was the learning, and how do you now position this book? I'm just curious. What should a reader, casual reader, who doesn't know about you and shows up at a bookstore, make of this book? And is that something that you let your publisher worry about, or is that, I'm curious.
I'll let my readers worry about. I've already said, I've already said my stories are all yours now. And whatever story you want to hang on to, whatever story that resonates with you, whatever line of thought you would like to keep in the book, it's all yours. There are different layers, of course, to the book. Of course, there's gender, there's the history of music, there's the spiritual, whatever my insights, reflections. There's also my personal story. There's some bit of travelogue kind of quality to the book. So it's layered on many levels. So whatever appeals to you, it's all yours.
Sumana and Arundhati, thanks for the great book and the great conversation that we have enjoyed. I have a couple of questions for you. Why can't the ghatam be fired in an oven or whatever, number one? Number two, maybe you can think of something like the porcelain factory or whatever, who have a wealth of experience in trying to make the ghatam slightly differently. And third one is, cannot some alternate materials be used for making the ghatam? I know that will not be the true original ghatam, but what are your views on that? Thank you.
So a closed kiln has been used. In fact, now in Manamadurai, we do have an electric kiln. So the open kiln method, because of different kinds of restrictions that have also been placed by the local municipalities on firing, there is a closed kiln available now, and they do use this. The sound, it's again about how different artists perceive the sound. Some artists say that I used to like the open kiln sound. Now, this one, for instance, is fired in an electric kiln. Whereas this one, which has, you will see the black marks. You're welcome to come and touch this button. You will see the black marks here, which are caused by the open kiln, where the fire comes and touches the pot. Then it leaves these marks. They are like birthmarks in some sense. So this is made in the open kiln, where you will find, it's very clean. It's all in controlled temperature. So this is an electric kiln ghatam. So both methods do exist now. Of course, the electric method is very, it's very high on cost and maintenance. And not all potters would be able to maintain that. So that's one response. The second thing is, if a ghatam was made with anything else, it wouldn't be a ghatam. A ghat is the earth. We can create new instruments out of different materials, but a ghat is the earth. There's no alternative to it, I think.
This is the only instrument which is nature.
Yeah, it's
Fully
fully.
Yeah.
Are there any similar instruments, in other countries?
Yeah. Maya, huh?
So many questions, Sumana.
Yes.
Thank you. Both of you. One that comes to mind is, so this crackpot one.
Yes.
Yes, and they're all lying there.
Yes.
And this is an extension of your body.
Yeah.
And it's earth extending into earth
Yeah.
in one way.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've played with a crackpot one.
Yes.
And what is it? Is it about being encircled by a certain tonality of classical music, Carnatic music? Or is there also a challenge of, let me pick up the one that is a non-tonal, bad-toned, atonal, whatever, and let me pick it up and it's, I mean, this is such a, it is such a special relationship.
Yes.
If you've done it, I really want to know as an artist what it has done for you. Number two, my question is, okay, you're sitting in the corner in a Carnatic recital. You are not marginalized. You're a woman sitting there where nobody's used to a woman sitting there. She's not sitting there with a kanjira. She's sitting there with a ghatam. Our eyes will go to you, and I'm sure you know it. And I want to know as a woman what that does to you, what it does for you, what you come away with. And finally, a question which, I mean, maybe there's not enough time here, but, and I haven't read the whole book, sorry. But she's done so much for you. Meenakshi's done so much for you. You talk about your mother. Maybe it's there in the book, but what has happened to you over time in being in close proximity with this? What is the Sumana that has come into being?
The first question was about crackpots. You know, this is an article that I hold very dear to my heart. 1928, 27. This Ghatam player called Sundaram Iyer writes a fascinating article which in 28 gets published in the first issue of the Madras Music Academy. By then he has passed on, but he makes a passionate plea for what he says, we need to revive the pot. Already remember, 1927, he's saying, please come, this is an ancient instrument, we need to revive it. And he says, give me a cracked pot, and I will play beautiful sounds on it in a concert, and I'll show you how beautiful it can sound. He actually says this Ghatam is like a globe, and it has latitudes. It may be broken on this side, but on the other side, it has different climatic conditions across. And I will play a good concert without spoiling the beauty of the concert. I'm going to play on a cracked pot. And he says it with a lot of resilience. It's my anthem for Ghatam players, I think. And with so much confidence. And I agree with him, you know, I've got a whole set of cracked pots. This one, for instance, which I use for my practice. There is something very special that happens when you're playing with a cracked pot. Of course, you're exploring different sounds. On this, for instance, I know that the sound is uniform across the pot. But in a cracked pot, there are so many semitones, microtones that are emerging. Maybe closer to the crack is one note, a little away from the crack is another note, and then it's all, like ma'am would say, sound alayard. You know, it's like the sound is moving across. I'm fascinated. Unfortunately, a Carnatic stage will not allow me to use Ghatam with wandering notes on it. But when I'm practicing, when I'm on my own, I love playing on this just to explore the many things that are happening. And what it does to me, I think, Maya, after my COVID experience, which I also talk about, the one thing that has connected me and the pot is impermanence. That it is precious. While it's there, it's so precious. I will do anything to protect it. But if it were to crack today, it's okay. You let it go. And this is something that I've also learned a lot from Meenakshi. She said, that's the destiny of the pot, you know. One day it will crack. And that has so many resonances for us in our own lives. So if there were two things that the Ghatam has given to me, it's definitely this whole understanding of impermanence. And I'm not so attached to my pots. I know they are precious. I will look after them. But if this one were to crack today, it's okay. That's the life of the pot. And it's lived its life and it's gone. So this understanding, which permeates my entire understanding and relationship with life, has been so precious for me. And compassion. That the Ghatam is earth, it's compassionate, it's giving me so much within this small space, with just being this one little, space here, with no frills, no fancy things attached to it. It's very giving, and that compassion is something that has changed Sumana after being a Ghatam player.
So I want to end with somebody asked what this book is about. And Sumana, like your 5 elements, I saw 5 layers in the book. The book is about the pot. The book is about the pot that's a Ghatam, which is a musical instrument. The book is about a pot that's a Ghatam that's been played by a musician. The book is about a pot that's a Ghatam that's being played by a musician who's a woman.
Yeah.
And the book is about a pot that's a Ghatam which is being played by a musician who's a woman, whose teacher is a woman. So for me, that's really the story of this book.
Thank you. And just that one about the woman and this woman question that you asked, Maya, about me being in the margins of the stage and playing. I take that space. I just love being in that space. I don't think I would have enjoyed so much if I was sitting in the center of the stage. I like to think of myself as the Vidushaka, the conscience keeper, because I'm tuned into what everybody else on stage is doing, and I do my own thing, but I will say the truth. And that space to speak the truth, to play what I want to play, and be a little flamboyant, knowing that I'm on the side and I can do what I want. That power comes to me when I'm on the margins, not in the center.